So as I was discussing, I was just talking about how um, we need to be able to be ourselves, and so a big part of that is going to be, especially too. I think it's important for people to evaluate themselves and decide what they can take. Just be honest with yourself. It's not like somehow if you can't. Have a healthy conversation where people aren't being called names and we're not just writing people off and trying to shame people. But it's a matter of when you look at just the extremes. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, even just, this might not be a hot topic in general, but I mean, you just look at the concept of how, a lot of people eat meat, and then we have vegetarians and vegans and such who appall eating meat. And so, again, it's just one of those things where we need to be honest with what we can witness. And again, too, there's nothing wrong with trying to speak about your own way of life and see if it's something that the people on the other side of the conversation might be swayed by. But again, too, it's just one of those things where at the end of the day, I don't think that it's healthy for either side to have this attitude like somehow the other side can't exist. Because it's just one of those things where, I mean, you look at, I think I was watching a story where some guy showed up to a vegan festival and was eating raw meat in front of everybody. And it's obviously that's just not a healthy way to express yourself. That's not a healthy way to disagree with vegans and such. But I also too know, or I don't know, I didn't talk to the guy or anything, but I can evaluate why he was driven that way, because there's just been multiple times you see in the news where I remember reading about how there was a handful of vegans who were at grocery stores around Thanksgiving time, and they were holding up signs that said it's not meat, it's murder and such. And so it's just like, why are you in the meat department at the grocery store trying to shame and hurt and hate on other persons that aren't telling you to not live their lives? And so again, it's just, so to see that guy eating raw meat at a vegan festival, it's just kind of like, why are you behaving in the manner that you don't approve of yourself? You wouldn't be cool if, with those people trying to shame people from having turkeys on Thanksgiving. And so again, it's just one of those things where it's just super unhealthy for the mental health of the nation to have such malice in our hearts, to have this just petty attitude where we can't really coexist. Because I think ultimately, if you're going to talk one-on-one with the majority of the country, that's the principle that we'd all like to live by. Is, like I said, you be you, I'll be me. And so again, it's just this one of these things where it's like, I typically, I don't like how animals are treated and such, but I do eat meat. And so again, I can identify and empathize with the perspective of a vegan as far as trying to treat animals humanely. And that's something that, I don't have a problem trying to direct our market in that manner. But again, too, when you see people who are, that's not their end goal. They just want everyone to live by how they live, by how they see value in life. That's where they just go completely awry, and no one hears their message. And so for myself, it's just like with everything. It's like if we want to see improvement, we have to do it, one step at a time. We can't, again, I think why a lot of stuff doesn't get done, why we're in this stalemate of hostility towards each other, is because we have this all or nothing mentality where we just think that the other side has to completely give in and live by our way. And again, that's not tolerance. That's not coexisting. That's not living and let living. It's conformity. And again, too, it's sad because I feel like a lot of the people behind it do mean well. I don't think they're practicing it well, but I do, again, you just have to evaluate what are they trying to accomplish. I think they're just trying to accomplish harmony in their point of view and in their world. And so what I'm saying is I think people need to be realistic, because again, you're just with that mentality. I mean, I think the vast majority of the world eats meat. And so if you're in that position and you only think that you can be happy unless everyone conforms to your way of life, you will be miserable the rest of your life. And so again, I think, if you're a vegan and you're trying to make change into the humanity of how animals are treated, that's something that I think most people will get on board. I think the average person doesn't like how animals are treated and how they're abused and so forth, and how they're shot up with hormones. I don't think most people like that. But you lose their attention when you just start calling them murderers because they eat meat. Because, like I said, I mean, humans have eaten meat since the dawn of time. And so you're not going to reach anybody by saying that you want everyone to, find this passion in life for animals, when it's like their passion might be helping kids, their passion might be medicine, so they can help all humans. And so again, it's just really important for us to not to like I said, to be able to be us, for us to be able to embrace our passion and our desires in life, to where we can find value in it. Because again, if you think that, let's just split it down the middle in every one of these arguments and say one half says do this, one half says don't. How that essentially, if we do conform to one choice, that means half the country is going to be miserable. And again, that's not something that's just going to go away after that generation. It's just one of those things where we all have, just for myself, with how I live my life with politics and religion and such, where I am at now, it's not where I was when I was a kid and such. Like, as I observed life, truths revealed themselves to me, and so I saw that for myself. And so I think that's what I'm saying, is that they're genuinely people who, they're driven by truths that other people can't see. And I'm just saying that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, and it doesn't have credibility. There's many causes that a lot of us can't see that have credibility. And so just because it's not something that you should pilot doesn't mean it's something I can't. And vice versa. Again, like I'm saying, no one should shame anybody, because like I said, if you want to be a vegan and not eat animals, kudos to you. That's your thing. And if it makes you feel better and more harmonious in the universe, then great. Because that's ultimately what I'm saying with this principle, is in order for us to have stability of mental health, we need to be able to be ourselves. Like I said, there's so many times within society where we're just constantly trying to force people into living one way, and that's just going to make everyone miserable. Because that's the thing, is if you look at history, if you look at just with everything, with where we all have a certain way of doing things, we all have different religions or lack of religion, we all have different things that bring us value, and by trying to conform everyone, again too, because that's to say is there, we're going to have a handful of people decide what we're able to eat, who we can pray to, what politics are right or not. And it's just, that's never going to happen. You can look at each political party, and even within the political parties, the politicians in those parties, they're not all on the same page. They're at each other's throat up until the final election. But at the primaries, they're all talking about how horrible the other one is. And then when that's done and said with, and they have their nominee, then they all unite and talk about how they love each other and they hate the other side. But that's like that constant thing where I'm just like, none of those issues that you had with that person in your own party go away. Therefore, you are being tolerant of a different way of life. And so I'm saying that principle of looking past each other's differences is how we need to view everything. And again, too, there are certain subjects, I think, that individually that sometimes we can't get past, or at the very least we can't be immersed in it. And so I would say if you can't tolerate a certain way of life, or a certain belief, or a certain form of expression and such, I would encourage people to avoid it. And again, I wouldn't say avoid it forever. I do think, like anything, we need to test the water and try to strengthen our muscles into dealing with opposition. But if something overwhelms you, like I say, if you're a vegan, don't go to a steakhouse. That will really upset you. Just try to go to a place that's going to be more suited to how you find value in life. And same thing with religion and such. If you're a certain religion, don't go into the house of another religion that denies your religion exists or is true or so forth, unless you can handle it and be civil and be respectful. Because that's just one of the things where it's just like, if we are going to coexist in a country and have so many different types of people with so many different types of backgrounds and areas in which they find value, then we really need to figure out how we're going to actually coexist, rather than just slap a bumper sticker on our bumper and hope for the best. Because that's one thing I've learned within myself, and I can observe within the country, is that none of these problems are going to solve themselves. They're not just over 10 years or 20 years or whatever. They're not going to just suddenly dissolve and be gone. We have to actively try to figure out how that compromise is going to work. How, again, can we have civil conversations? And if you don't feel that you can have civil conversations with the opposition, I would just say, avoid it. Don't go into forums of like, if you don't agree with guns and so forth, don't go to the NRA website and into the chat room or whatever. It's just not going to be healthy for you or the people you interact with. But again, it's about us trying to really be ourselves and be empowered in that. And again, too, I think that constant differing of opinions is really kind of killing our sense of community, because again, if you look at the nation and the migration that we have within this country, we're all kind of moving around from state to state. I grew up in a big city on the West Coast. Now I live in a much smaller city in the Montana. And so again, it's just, I come from a completely different area. And so again, in order for me to look past some of the differences I have with people that have lived out for their whole lives and so forth, how to evaluate, what subjects I can talk about and how to approach certain subjects, even if I don't agree with people, because I do truly want to coexist. I want to be able to be myself, and I want other people to feel the same way, because I feel like it's just that hostility that makes people so unfriendly. Just when I moved out here, I say everyone waved at you as you're driving by in back roads and in subdivisions and such, and the friendliness is almost all but gone. But I do think it is that fact of, people have so much conflict with these subjects that when they go out in society and they're driving around and they're just so in their own shell. They're so, again, too, even in my neighborhood, not a lot of people wave when they're driving past. They just kind of tunnel vision you and ghost you. And it's just important for our mental health to be aware of that and aware of why. And it's because we have different points of view and different things that bring ourselves value. And so we just need to figure out how to not contribute to that divide, and what we can do to not be silent ourselves, but also to not silence others if we can help it. But again, this is just one of many subjects that we need to dive into so that we can actually become a United States again. But as always, good luck and good night.